Hey you guys, I'm a junior doctor working in Germany and these are the habits that really helped me thrive in school, so let's get into it. A couple of months ago, I was a student struggling to study and learn, and today I want to help other people and especially other young girls to actually thrive in school and learn to navigate their 20s. I want to be that person for others that I wish I had myself at that time. But number one is to wake up 1 hour earlier than you're used to, and I know it sounds like this cliche study habit, but it really helped me, especially when exam season was coming up or when there was already exam season. I really tried to wake up a bit earlier because this gave me a head start to the day. And at nighttime when you're home, you are really tired, so you kind of like used up your prime time in the morning. So I personally love to study in the morning because it gives me an hour of time where everybody is asleep, nobody is woken up, nobody's there to annoy you or text you, there is no emergency whatsoever, and I love doing that. The second thing is every minute counts, and I really mean it, because even when I was waiting for the train to come, I would always take out my Anki card and start studying. I would sit down on the bench and I would actually study on my iPad, or even when I know the train is late and I am going back from university to home, I would just sit down, and that was like one of the best times to study. For me, that was a time where I knew I could just study because I still had so much studying to do and I really wanted to make every second, every minute count. When I was going to school, I had around like 30 minutes of train time, and that is perfect because I always like to use the Pomodoro technique, 25 to 5. That was the time where I sat down and I studied as well, so I had like an hour of extra studying time during the train ride, and I really used that up as much as I could because I knew that I really needed that time. And while other people were annoyed that the train was late, I was sitting there studying because you won't want that time to go to work. Learn about subjects outside of school that really fascinate you, and the main reason for this is that first, you're building up your study habits. The second is that when you study for the stuff that you love, you're more likely to study more of it. And the third thing is that even on your times off or your semester holidays, I think that if you don't consistently study, then you're kind of like studying, then you're not studying at all. Now you're going back to school to studying, and it is really hard to have these swings. It is way easier for your brain to have consistency overall. Another reason I love this is the more stuff that you know, the more easier it is for your brain to create connections across the board, and it is way easier when you already have connections with the old material. The next is to work out regularly, and this really does go into studying as well, because you have to find a way to de-stress and find the balance within your life. Studying is stressful for the brain. You also feel those stress hormones in your entire body, and they definitely need a release. Whenever I had time, I would work out as much as I could. If I didn't have any time during the week, then I would always make sure to work out on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, and so I had minimum of 3 workouts every single week. The first time I worked out very regularly, it was during high school, and I worked out 6 times a week for like around 6 months very consistently, and I really noticed the difference in my brain health. It really helped me study smarter, study better, and it really made a difference. Whenever there was exam season, my brain and body could deal with the stress way better. And the reason for this is whenever you're working out, like a tiny mini stressor for your body, but your body can recover from it. So therefore your body learns that even if you feel these stressors in your body, it will eventually pass. So whenever your brain is stressed out because of the studying, your body kind of gets the same signals that it will be fine over the long haul, and it really makes a difference in your study. The next one is to make a playlist of the fun songs you love, especially on those days where I knew it was going to be so stressful. I knew that if I listened to these songs, they would motivate me, they would help me, they would get rid of the stress, and then I would be going to school while listening to all of these fun songs. And even when I came home, yes, I did daydream while I was doing that, and I think that helped my brain to kind of like forget about the moment for a brief second. And this also goes into the next point: create a really inviting study environment. For me, this meant that I listened to instrumental songs on YouTube, or I really love listening to Harry Potter songs. I also really love to listen to these wood burning noises just because it made me feel like I was romanticizing my life. And I love Hermione Granger and how intelligent she is and how she always loves to study, so really put me in a nice mood to study. Study 1 week earlier than you initially planned, and we always love to underestimate the amount of studying we need to get done, and it happened to me so frequently that inevitably I realized that I just needed to study a bit earlier to actually get all the material done, but also to have enough time to revise. I started to study 1 week earlier, and it was super helpful for me, especially because then you're less stressed out, you have more time, and it makes the studying experience way better. The next one is the comparison trap, and I know our brains will always compare ourselves to other people, but it's really important to recognize that we all have different life phases, and different people are differently well in different life phases. So that means that in this life phase you might not be as good at something than others, but they also weren't that good or the best in another life phase. And I think that really helped me, especially when I recognized that a lot of people already had experience in this field, and that does translate into being able to study more quickly. Consistency doesn't mean that you have to put in 20% every single day or study for an hour every single day. It often means that on Monday it's going to be 10, then it's going to be 5, 50, 60, just different every single day. You just have to make sure that you consistently show up to the thing, give it your best shot, because sometimes it is just going to be very hot. Like right now, today it is so hot. This is so bad, and because of that, because it's so warm right now, it is going to be significantly harder to study, and you will have to make sure that you have a fan on or just any cold space and just have a lot of cold water. So always try to look at the environment and create a good environment for studying, and recognizing that you just have to show up consistently, not perform consistently the same way every single day. The next one is the forgetting curve. I think a lot of people just ignore our human brain biology, and we always try to excel that, but I think it is way more helpful to actually recognize that the forgetting curve just exists. You're going to forget massive amounts of information already in the first day and the first hour of studying. So instead of ignoring that, I think it's a great idea to learn habits and skills that apply to our biology and to our human nature. It makes life so much easier once you recognize that there are limitations to the human mind. And therefore, the way that I used to study is I used to always use the Pomodoro technique with the 25 minutes. But what I specifically started to do is I would study for 20 minutes, then revise for the last 5 minutes, take a 5-minute break, come back, then I would revise it all over again, and then I would consistently study new material. It really helped me to revise the same material over and over again, and especially on the first day I revised it the most. This helped me retain so much more information than ever before. Whenever I was studying something, I would kind of like connect it to any other subjects or materials that I had already learned the previous days. And so whenever I remembered a different subject or a connection, I revised the older subject again, connecting it, and it really helped me remember information. This goes into the next point. There's no point in actually learning new information when you're already forgetting the old, because it's way better to know 10 subjects well that you can actually recall in the exam than to actually know 20 subjects but not know them at all. And so this really is important to really revise the subjects, and the more repetition there is, the better you are going to be able to recall it in the exam. Because if you're sitting there and you cannot recall any subject at all, that is going to be really hard to pass exams like that. So study early and make sure to revise a lot. The next is being extroverted. I am very introverted, and therefore for me it was really difficult in the beginning. Inevitably I realized that in this field it is really helpful if you're extroverted and you talk to a lot of people, because then you learn new study habits, learn new techniques, you also get more information, you can connect, you can talk about different cases, and that is something that I really had to learn over time, that extroversion is really helpful in order to learn more from others. Creating a clean studying environment. Now I'm really messy but organized, and the problem with this entire messing is whenever your study field is cluttered, your brain is also going to be cluttered. It is really easy to distract yourself, or whenever you're bored and don't feel like it, to just like remember that you have to do something else. And therefore I would always put a piece of paper right beside me whenever I was studying and I remembered it to do or an important task. I would always write it down. Because of that, whenever I was done with studying, I would always go back to the piece of paper and then be like, what do I need to do today? And that was so helpful because I didn't get up, and I also cleaned the entire environment beforehand so I wouldn't feel distracted. And that's it for today. Until next time, bye.